September 5, 2025, marks a pivotal day in global affairs, characterized by significant economic shifts, evolving geopolitical tensions, and breakthrough technological developments. Hello, I am your host, and I'm here to help you go through these developments for today. The United States economy confronted significant headwinds as the latest jobs report delivered disappointing figures that have effectively sealed the case for an imminent Federal Reserve rate cut. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that employers added only 22,000 jobs in August, dramatically missing economists' expectations of 75,000 new positions. More concerning, the unemployment rate climbed to 4.3%, its highest level since October 2021. The situation appeared even more troubling when historical revisions painted a bleaker picture. June's job creation was revised downward to show a loss of 13,000 positions, marking the first monthly decline since December 2020. These weak employment indicators have virtually guaranteed a Federal Reserve rate cut at the September 16th-17th meeting, with markets now pricing in an 88% probability of a 25 basis point reduction and a 12% chance of a more aggressive 50 basis point cut. On Wall Street, major indices retreated from record highs as economic slowdown fears clouded the optimism around potential rate cuts. However, the corporate bond market remained active, with companies tapping nearly $70 billion in debt markets during the holiday-shortened week, as borrowing costs hover near record lows. While the U.S. grappled with employment concerns, other major economies pursued varied monetary approaches. China's central bank demonstrated its commitment to economic stimulus by conducting one of its largest liquidity injections of the year, announcing a 1 trillion yuan, $140.7 billion, outright reverse repurchase operation on September 5th. The People's Bank of China stated the operation aimed to keep banking system liquidity reasonably ample, with a 3-month tenor, underscoring Beijing's continued supportive monetary policy stance as economic growth remains sluggish. In contrast, the European Central Bank maintained its deposit facility rate at 2.00% following its July meeting, effectively marking the end of its current easing cycle after 8 consecutive cuts over the past year. A Bloomberg survey of economists revealed that ECB rate cuts are over, with respondents expecting the deposit rate to remain at 2% through at least the end of next year. About a quarter of economists even anticipate one or more rate increases as inflation holds at the ECB's 2% target. Across the English Channel, the Bank of England cut its key interest rate by 25 basis points to 4% in August, marking the lowest level since March 2023. The decision required a rare second vote, with 5 of 9 Monetary Policy Committee members ultimately backing the cut, while 4 voted for no change. Governor Andrew Bailey called it a finely balanced decision and emphasized that future cuts will be gradual and careful, as inflation is expected to peak at 4% in September. The monetary policy divergence continued in Asia, where the Bank of Japan maintained its benchmark rate at 0.5% in July, keeping borrowing costs at their highest level since 2008. Deputy Governor Ryozo Himino signaled the central bank's readiness to continue raising rates if economic conditions improve, though he cautioned that global uncertainty remains high. Nearly 2/3 of economists polled by Reuters expect the BOJ to raise rates again by year-end. Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of Australia issued warnings that interest rates may not fall as far as expected due to rising consumer spending, with Governor Michelle Bullock indicating future rate cuts could be delayed. This comes as Australia's central bank battles persistent inflation while managing economic uncertainties. Looking at the broader global picture, the IMF revised its global growth projections upward to 3.0% for 2025 and 3.1% for 2026, reflecting better financial conditions and fiscal expansion in major jurisdictions. However, the organization warned that downside risks from potentially higher tariffs, elevated uncertainty, and geopolitical tensions persist. The political arena witnessed significant developments as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced intense scrutiny from lawmakers during heated Senate hearings. Republicans and Democrats alike challenged his controversial health policies, with Kennedy defending his actions regarding vaccination policy and CDC personnel changes. Growing GOP discontent emerged with Senator Bill Cassidy and John Barrasso confronting him about promises made during his confirmation process. In a related development, President Trump announced plans to sign an executive order renaming the Department of Defense to the Department of War, reviving a designation last used in the late 1940s. The formal renaming would require congressional approval as part of Trump's broader push toward what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth calls a warrior ethos campaign. International affairs took a more concerning turn as the Gaza conflict intensified dramatically. Israel launched a comprehensive offensive on Gaza City, with Defense Minister Yoav Gallant declaring that the gates of hell are opening in the territory. Israeli forces gained control of approximately 40% of Gaza City as part of their stated objective to capture the entire Gaza Strip. At least 105 Palestinians were killed in overnight strikes, including 7 children, as the military destroyed high-rise buildings and issued evacuation orders. Simultaneously, European support for Ukraine continued to solidify, with 26 European allies pledging continued assistance. French President Emmanuel Macron announced a coalition of the willing that would place troops in Ukraine as security guarantees following any future peace deal. However, Russia's President Putin issued stern warnings that Western troops in Ukraine would be considered targets for Russian forces, highlighting the escalating tensions. In Southeast Asia, political shifts occurred as Thailand's parliament elected Anitin Charnvirakul as the new prime minister, dealing a significant blow to the Shinawatra political dynasty that has dominated Thai politics for 2 decades. The vote represents a major shift in the country's political landscape as it emerges from years of political crisis. The business sector experienced notable developments, particularly in the technology space. Broadcom emerged as a standout performer, with shares surging 16% after the chip designer secured what appears to be a $10 billion order from OpenAI for custom AI chips. The company's fourth-quarter revenue forecast exceeded estimates, and it projected substantial growth in AI revenue for fiscal year 2026, with expectations of AI revenues exceeding $40 billion. This development signals a potential challenge to NVIDIA's dominance in the AI chip market, with NVIDIA shares declining 4.3% on the news. Building on this AI theme, OpenAI announced the development of an AI-powered jobs platform that could directly compete with Microsoft's LinkedIn. The platform, named OpenAI Jobs Platform, will enable users to utilize AI to discover ideal connections between what organizations require and job seekers can provide. The service is expected to debut by mid-2026 and will include features for local businesses and government AI sourcing. However, not all technology companies reported positive results. Tesla shareholders faced mixed results from the company's Q2 2025 earnings, with earnings per share of 0.40 meeting expectations, while revenue of $22.5 billion slightly exceeded forecasts. Despite these modest achievements, the results marked a 12% year-over-year revenue decline, the sharpest drop in at least a decade, primarily attributed to ongoing slumps in vehicle deliveries. Tesla reported deliveries of more than 384,000 vehicles in the quarter, a 14% year-over-year drop. On a more positive technological note, SpaceX achieved a historic milestone by successfully completing its 500th Falcon booster landing during a Starlink mission on September 5th. The Falcon 9 rocket launched 28 Starlink satellites from Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39A, with the first stage booster, B-1069, making its 27th flight before landing on the Just Read the Instructions drone ship. However, the technology sector also grappled with significant cybersecurity threats. Major concerns emerged as researchers discovered sophisticated malware campaigns targeting both macOS and enterprise systems. VirusTotal identified 44 undetected SVG files being used to deploy base64 encoded phishing pages, while threat actor TAG-150 escalated attacks using proprietary malware families including CastleLoader, CastleBot, and CastleRat. Additionally, security researchers detected massive scanning campaigns targeting over 25,000 Cisco ASA devices, potentially signaling preparation for a major vulnerability disclosure. The cybersecurity challenges extended to government systems, with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency ordering federal agencies to patch a critical Sitecore zero-day vulnerability by September 25, following reports of active exploitation. The vulnerability affects several site core products and stems from the use of a sample machine key included in deployment guides from 2017 and earlier. While political and economic challenges dominated headlines, the scientific community achieved remarkable breakthroughs that promise to shape future innovations. Northwestern University researchers achieved a major breakthrough in gene editing technology by developing a new CRISPR delivery system that triples the efficiency of genetic modifications. The team created lipid nanoparticle spherical nucleic acids, LNP-SNAs, that can safely deliver CRISPR machinery into cells with unprecedented success rates, entering cells up to 3 times more effectively than current COVID-19 vaccine delivery methods, while causing significantly less toxicity. Complementing this medical advancement, scientists at the University of Göttingen made a groundbreaking discovery by directly observing flow-case states in graphene for the first time using femtosecond momentum microscopy. This breakthrough in flow-case engineering demonstrates that graphene's electronic properties can be dynamically manipulated using tailored light pulses, opening revolutionary possibilities for quantum computing and next-generation electronics by enabling scientists to customize electronic structures of quantum materials on demand. This was it for today. Remember, this briefing was generated using AI under human supervision. We encourage people to check the sources in the description for more context and a complete picture. Lastly, have a great day.